Southark Spotlight is brought to you by Maxwell Hardwood Flooring. Maxwell Hardwood Flooring, located in Monticello, has been producing quality, solid, and engineered hardwood flooring for over 28 years. The company and sister companies, Ouachita Hardwood and Townsend Inc. in Warren, are proud to be providing American-made flooring to distributors and retailers from coast to coast while serving our local communities right here at home. Maxwell Hardwood Flooring, your best start for a great finish. Today's guest is Dennen Cuthbertson, Public Relations Specialist at the Bradley County Medical Center.
Well, a normal day would be come in and check emails. On the IT side now, which I'm fairly new to, is answering some phone calls, resetting passwords, different things like that. For my main function is public relations. I'm checking our social media pages, mainly Facebook. That's our biggest following. We also have Instagram and Twitter, and keep some things on LinkedIn too, especially that are highlight employees. Any press releases that we need to send out, I type them, send them out. I usually post them on Facebook and our other social media platforms. Aside from that, it's I'm on several committees. We have a policy committee, employee council, different things. I also do advertising. I design graphics for Facebook, design graphics to send to you guys sometimes, also the Eagle, and also some of the other local outlets in the region to advertise for the hospital. I also do marketing for Bradley County Medical Center, and that also includes the BCMC Rural Health Clinic that is right across the street from the hospital, and also includes some of our outpatient therapy and home health, which is located in the Brunson Medical Complex. But yeah, do all the marketing, which includes, it can be anything like all the newspaper ads, social media ads, mail outs. Like I said, I design graphics and do all that kind of stuff too, which kind of advertising and marketing go hand in hand. But really, one of the main things that I've concentrated on, one of the main things that whenever I was hired, I was told to focus on was social media, and particularly Facebook, because Facebook's the biggest platform around here, especially, if not in the whole world. But obviously there's Twitter and Instagram and other outlets. But one thing we did during COVID was we created the mayor and the Bradley County judge and different things. We had a task force of sorts for the COVID-19 response, and I was tasked with creating a Facebook page for that, in addition to putting out our messages on our own hospital page, keeping the public informed and with COVID and anything else. That's one thing with running the social media for a hospital, especially the only hospital in our community, the only hospital in our county. I see it as a means of just relaying general health messages too, not just different things about our hospital, which obviously are a part of it and very important, but just general things about staying healthy. Also, a lot of healthcare recognition days. I mean, there's a healthcare holiday almost every single day of the year. There's definitely one every week, and there's several every month. And it's important to recognize whether it's breast cancer or lung cancer or heart disease or high blood pressure. And some of those things are problems that we have in our community, especially of lower income, and different things. So it's just nice to, like I said, I see it as a way of just informing the public, even if you aren't going to come to our hospital, even if you don't need to come to our hospital at that time. And that's kind of the uniqueness of marketing and running social media, especially for hospital, it's just, it's not like I compare a lot of things to sports. Sports marketing, which I didn't really do a whole lot of marketing, I had to do a little bit, but sports marketing is, we want you to come to our games, come to the games, come to the games. You don't really want to say that about a hospital. It's not like, hey, we hope you get sick, come to the hospital. It's when you get sick, when an accident happens, because inevitably something will happen to you or a family member. We want you to keep in mind that, not only are we the closest hospital, but we also are a very high quality hospital, the only 4-star hospital rated by CMS in our region. So we're very proud of that. One of the big things with public relations, and that's what my official title is, and all this stuff falls under an umbrella, but I am out in the community somewhat, and probably my biggest role is I am in the Rotary Club, and I'm serving as the president. It's a very active organization in our community, but not only in Warren and Bradley County, and even the state level. This is a worldwide organization. There are Rotary clubs in every nation in the world. There's all kinds of initiatives. I know one thing Rotary is proud of is eradicating polio, basically. I think there were only, and I'd have to check my Rotary notes on this, but only 6 cases of polio last year in the whole world. That's something that Rotary's done for years. But there are a number of different things in the community. One thing we do, we have our junior Rotarian program, which allows kids from high school to come in and sit in on a program, and they introduce themselves and talk about their future plans. And we've also incorporated not only Warren High School, but Hermitage High School within the last. We did have to have a temporary hold on things, and we stopped our meetings also for a while because of COVID, but it's been nice to have the junior Rotarians back. We started that back just a couple months ago with Warren and Hermitage kids, and we had to kind of squeeze them all in. There were more since we didn't do it throughout the whole school year, but was very happy to get them back involved. There are several other things. One thing we do, we have a happy box, and our happy box money goes to the Imagination Library. And we have a pancake breakfast, even though we're not doing that this year for the Pink Tomato Festival, but we've done that in the past. That money goes to Imagination Library. We've had a 5K walk run in the past. Like I said, some things got put on hold because of COVID, but Rotary's definitely a great civic organization, and I think most people would say we serve Warren, and like I said, it's not just Warren, but across the world very well. Well, one thing that I've done last year and this year is I'm volunteering coaching the 15U Warren baseball team through the YMCA. And my dad helps me, who is a former baseball coach. We had a lot of fun last year. Looking forward to this year. We actually start playing here soon. But last year we only got to play 6 games over in the league in Monticello, and that's where the league is. It's Monticello. There's 4. There's Warren, our team, and there's 4 Monticello teams and a team from Star City. But we went to the state tournament for 14U, and we won it, and then we actually qualified for a World Series through the USSSA in New Orleans, and we won that. That was really exciting, whole lot of fun. I guess really not to take too long on that subject, but it was a lot of fun, and we had to win 2 games at the end to win it, and we were down by 3 runs in the last inning. We had the bases loaded with 1 out, I believe, and we had a bases clearing triple and tied the game. Intentionally walked the next 2 guys to set up a force at every base. Our next hitter struck out, but then we had a walk-off walk to win the game. And then we had to play another game, and we won that one fairly easily. It wasn't as dramatic as the first one, but that was a lot of fun. And that's one way that I volunteer in the community. Well, yeah, I was actually born in Texas, but both my parents are from Warren, and we moved back to Warren when I was 5. So I feel like I've always really, I feel like I was born and raised in Warren, even though I wasn't technically born here. And all of our families from here. But graduated from Warren High School, went to Arkansas State University, graduated in 2010 with my undergrad in sports management. Got an internship at a company called Baseball Info Solutions that is actually now called Sports Info Solutions because they do more than baseball. That organization was in Copley, Pennsylvania, which is close to Allentown. And basically, anybody that's ever asked me about that, I'd just say I got paid to watch baseball because that's basically what we did. We scored Major League Baseball games with our own software and charted pitches. And at that time, I think about 1/3 of Major League Baseball purchased information from us. I think now it's all 30 teams, and there's ESPN and ABC or whatever, CBS, all the other different media outlets purchase data from Sports Info Solutions now. One other thing we did, we helped on the video game MLB The Show, we helped come up with the ratings for the players. Some of our data was helpful with that. So that was fun. It was an internship for basically across the Major League Baseball season. It was from I got up there in the middle of March and I left sometime around October. Funny thing to me was that it was snowing when I got there and it was snowing when I left. So it was a little bit different weather, obviously, than here in Arkansas. But did that internship, pursued a few opportunities, but decided to go back to grad school with one of my professors at ASU was Dr. David Levetter. They had just started, or were in the process when I actually graduated, of adding a graduate program for sports management, and actually it's called sports administration. And he kind of kept talking to me and saying, you should come get your master's, And so I did. In 2012, I got into grad school at A-State in sports administration, ended up catching on got to be a graduate assistant with the sports information department at Arkansas State. With Jerry Scott was my boss, and sports information can be called several different things. It's media relations at some schools, or athletics communications, and a lot of it actually ties back into, incredibly, a lot of it does tie into what I do now. I mean, one of the things that we did was we ran our team's social media accounts. We typed press releases. We did a press release after every game or every weekly award, and we ran our athletics website. But I was a GA for 2 years doing that. My main sports those years that I was the main contact for were women's tennis, women's bowling, and women's volleyball. That basically meant if any news organization, media outlet wanted to talk to a coach or player of those sports, they worked through me. I helped set up that interview, and we had several radio interviews requests that we did, not to mention newspaper articles, writers, and there were even some, especially at that time, a lot of different internet sites had come along, message boards and different things that covered A-State. So we set up interviews for that, and then I graduated with my master's degree in 2014 in sports administration. Was lucky enough to get offered a full-time job in the sports information department. Got elevated a little bit because my sports then, I still did volleyball and women's bowling, but also started doing baseball. And again, it's the same thing. You're setting up media interviews, you're making media guides, updating the website, game recaps, et cetera, et cetera. Also was the official scorer for baseball games. I also did, but like I said, you worked with every sport. It was a all hands on deck for every football game. It was pretty much all hands on deck for every men's and women's basketball game, and I usually kept stat crew for men's and women's basketball as long as I was there and not on the road with one of my other sports. And yeah, I mean, it was an interesting job. You know, it was one of those things that with baseball season, you know, your series were Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you usually had a game in the midweek on Tuesday or Wednesday. So it really, from about the middle of February until the end of May, it was a 7-day-a-week job. You know, you might be at home on the weekend for a home series, but otherwise you were on the road traveling. And football games were always a big production, and it was always a full day on a Saturday. For a football game, a 6 p.m. kickoff, I usually came in around noon. Usually had volleyball to cover, and also I tweeted volleyball and did all the recap, did all that, and then got ready for football. Probably did not leave the football stadium most nights for a 6 p.m. kickoff again, and usually was 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. So it was a 14-ish hour day. Like I said, it was a lot of fun working in sports, but a lot of hours, a lot of weird hours, you didn't get your time off. But I did that for 4 years until the position came open in the hospital where they actually created, this was a brand new position for Bradley County Medical Center of Public Relations. Decided to apply for it and got it and was able to move back home. It wasn't just a quick, you know, oh yeah, let's do it. It was some time to think about it because I really enjoyed my time at Arkansas State and working in sports. But this job was more of your traditional 9 to 5, and it also, you know, weekends off, which was a big thing after working in sports. But also it's a chance to move back home with my family. My parents were here. I'm still here, obviously. And at that time when we moved back, my dad was still coaching, my mom was still teaching, so it was a chance for me to, you know, go to every Warren football game on Friday night, go to as many basketball games as we could go to, and go to as many baseball games as we could go to, especially when my dad was still coaching football and baseball. So that was, you know, one thing I just thought would be, you know, great. And now that he's retired, I mean, we still go to as many of the games as we can. Matter of fact, I mean, we actually run the scoreboard and official book at the high school baseball games. Ever since he retired, we've both done that. Just another volunteer aspect. But yeah, I mean, it was nice to be able to move back home and, you know, where you know everybody, that small town feel. And Jonesboro is a great place, and Jonesboro's gotten a lot bigger ever since I was in school there at A-State. And it kind of had the feeling maybe the biggest small town in the world because it is kind of a lot like Warren in a lot of ways. Where there's even as much of that small town feel as Jonesboro had, you know, it took 30 minutes to get across town if you wanted to run an errand, you know, if you needed to run to Target or something. So, I mean, people talk about Warren, you know, it takes 15 minutes to go to Walmart, you know, or 30 minutes round trip. That's about the same as what it would be in Jonesboro because of all the traffic and as big as the town got. So moving back to Warren was not a huge adjustment for me in that regard. And obviously having lived here, you know, my whole life, it was something that I enjoyed. And just being able to come back and reconnect with friends, reconnect with family, like I said, it's a big deal, you know, and being able to spend a lot of time with my parents now, especially since they're retired. But also it was just an opportunity for me to lay some more roots, I guess. I've been able to buy a house, and you know, it was just one of the great things about getting that job and having that opportunity. We're move back home, get a house. I got a dog now. That was one thing I couldn't have a dog really with my previous job. One, my apartment complex didn't allow them until about 2 years before I moved out. They did start allowing them, but I was on the road so much and was at the office so much that it would have been impossible. I mean, I would have had to have hired a full-time dog sitter, which I couldn't have afforded, or take them and board them at the vet. So it's just a lot of things like that that have been great about coming back to Warren, and I'm just really happy to be a part of the community again.